Hey everyone, Chelsey here, and I have a very special guest today. She's a TV writer, screenwriter, actor, country singer, songwriter, award-winning novelist, and she's the writer of A Harvest Homecoming.
I can help out Mom and Dad with the orchard and the mill. Just for 2 weeks, I think it'll be good to be back home. Hi, Mom.
It's good to have you back home.
Riley Weston is in the house. Hey Riley, how are you?
How are you? It's going good. I'm in the mountains right now. It's a little bit chilly, but it's going great.
Yeah, I heard you don't have a heater where you're at right now. How are you staying warm right now, Riley?
It's balmy, 49. I'm in a cabin that I usually like to come to in the summertime, but I stayed a little bit longer because I'm finishing a project. And so I have a little space heater next to me. I have Under Armour on inside the camp. It's a little chilly, but it's festive. That's how I like saying it. It's festive.
Yeah.
Puts me in the mood.
Definitely. Well, you have done such a good job. And of course, we have to talk about Harvest Homecoming, but I want to quickly mention you've done a lot of other movies before this, but is this your first debut on Great American Family?
Yes, it's the first movie for Great American Family, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say hopefully it will not be the last. Hopefully soon we'll be talking about other ones on Great American Family. And I don't know if you know this, but they're rebranding another network. So their Great American Living is going to become Great American Faith and Living. So there might be some new projects to speak about soon.
Amazing. Well, we are really excited for that. And of course, a lot of fans are saying that they're hopeful that there's going to be a sequel, maybe 2 or 3 more to A Harvest Homecoming. So I don't know. We'll see. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay. So it's funny. I just had a meeting earlier today, and we talked about the success of that one, which was great. And then we went on to some other things. And I got off the phone. I'm like, oh my gosh, we never talked about a sequel. So I'm hoping, I would like to know where this family goes. I would love to see a little Harvest Homecoming engagement. I could also see a Harvest Homecoming wedding. I could see a few things, and I love the fact that I do know it did really well in ratings. They were super excited about that. I would like to personally see the whole family, I want to see Grandpa and Miss Francine. I want to see what happens there. I want to see what happens with the orchard and the mill, and I want to see how the parents grow. And I just thought, and of course, Lainey and Drew would be obviously the main concern, but I could see a future for everybody. I'm gonna have to be a wait and see on that one. And I can't wait to tell y'all when it happens, but I can't say anything else but that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you. We've all been talking about a harvest engagement, harvest wedding. You could just go on and on, a harvest everything for all of the different areas in this family.
But I just want to know, do you think there was enough leaves? That's the one. Sorry.
I was actually going to include that because some of the viewer comments were saying, and I actually saw those comments before I watched the movie where they were saying, okay, this was like fall decor overload. It was like way too much, overstimulating, and I was distracted. And so I went into it already hearing those comments. So I think that's why I was looking for it as well. But I don't know. What do you think about it? Do you think it was overkill, or you liked it, right? You wanted more of the fall decor.
So if I had been on set, I personally would have kept everything except Lainey's house. That to me was the biggest and only big mistake. If you're going to paste leaves on cabinets, they could not have just moved into the house and are unpacking. And that was where my biggest concern was. Now, I know because I was on strike and I couldn't say anything and I wasn't a part of it. But I do know that because they are on such a very, very, very short time frame, and I think they did have a conversation about maybe this, she just moved in kind of a thing, and because they couldn't touch the script because I was on strike, if I hadn't been on strike, I could have said add 2 lines, and all Lainey has to say to her best friend is, "Thank you for coming before me and making everything feel so homey. This is perfect." Then we would have understood. But she's unpacking. She's unpacking. How did she paste leaves on her cabinet? So that was my only big thing, was she's just moving in. It's too much unless we had addressed it, unless she would have said those 2 lines saying thank you for coming before me and setting it all up. This was great for Aiden. It made us feel at home. Anything like that. But that's what happens. It's a give and take, and it's a very big learning curve for them, and the other side of it is, as many people that have complained, I've also heard people that are like, don't stop, this was amazing. Because if you compare those decorations to Christmas, there's really, it's the same kind of vibe. It's just that this is a whole different season that we're not used to seeing this much. I saw in a movie that aired after mine, I saw the same couple comments. I loved it. There was still a lot of leaves. I thought, I don't know what's going on with the leaves this year. But, you know, and a lot of people got this message, but it shoots usually in June, right? May or June. You cannot get pumpkins. So it's a lot of the fall stuff that you'd normally see in a set organically. You can't get the leaves that are turning. Like my leaves are pretty much gone up here in upstate New York. But other people are just now experiencing fall, and some people haven't even started it. So it's kind of like, it's a learning curve. It's a give and take. And you hope that it's not too much where the story is, pushed aside because there are a lot of leaves. I loved the decorations. I loved everything about it all the other houses. Like, I didn't mind that the plates were from a Dollar Tree store. I love those plates. I have them. You know what I mean? Like, I love over decorating. I mean, if anybody follows me on social media, you will not believe what's about to happen in my house for Christmas and outside. But that was my one thing. Lainey's house was the big, that was the big for me.
Well, I totally understand like your perspective on that too. And a couple things with that. Number one, I hear you in that it was pretty equal to what you would see for Christmas decorations. So I think that's great. I'm the kind of person who always loves more rather than less. So I didn't personally have a problem with it. I mean, I probably wouldn't have seen fall decor like in a gymnasium or something like that, but I was like, I'm not mad at it. That's okay. Let's just keep moving on to the next thing, For this interview, I didn't want to overdo it with the decor. I specifically went to a pumpkin patch and only put 2 pumpkins in the background and wore a pumpkin shirt. So hopefully people can handle it for this interview.
Clark's Harvest Homecoming hoodie on, so.
Yes, I love that. So did you make those shirts? Because there are Clark's Orchard shirts. Did you make those?
I made them and I sold them to whoever wanted them. I did this because I had tank tops, I had t-shirts, and I had hoodies. It was all I'm in SAG and Writers Guild. So I knew I could, under SAG, I didn't want to get in trouble by being on camera talking about a movie, even if I wasn't in it. In Writers Guild, it was very sketchy what I could and couldn't talk about. And most of it was like, just shut up so we don't get in trouble. But I couldn't talk about the movie. So I thought, well, I could have merchandise. And if you know, and I didn't have anything to do with them, it was just like, I just had apples, orchards, and romance. And then it became, I put some Harvest Homecomings, but I didn't talk about the movie airing on this date. It was about, hey, if you want a t-shirt and be a part of the Clark's family, that's kind of how it went. So it was really kind of neat. And then when when the movie premiered and I could see like all these amazing faces with the t-shirts and tanks and hoodies on, it was pretty heartwarming. It was pretty neat. And I was like, I think that's from the merchandising side of like my music career. I always have merch to sell at shows, and I thought, well, I could do the same thing with movies. It's it's the same kind of a vibe. So it's kind of neat. It was kind of cool cross promotion and getting the word out there without like saying, hey, there's a new movie airing, watch it on. So it was kind of neat. And Trevor has amazing fans that were, God bless these women, and men, but mainly these women that promoted it every day for 30 days and wore shirts and talked about it for us in place of us. So it was pretty awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, I saw all of the merchandise and I thought, that is so cute. And then I thought, is this a real place? Like, where did you guys end up filming this? Is it actually at an orchard, or you just came up with the title, right? Or where was this filmed?
Just came up with it. And that's the kind of energy that you want. That's the kind of, you want somebody to be like, my mom and her best friend and I, we all went to dinner that night before the movie aired. And we walked into this restaurant, and then I'm in a really small mountain town. And this lady was like, so where is this Clark's? And can I go? Like, how cool is it? And my mom's like, well, my mom was all ready to start bragging. I'm like, no, like, it's fine. It's not a real place. She's like, well, why isn't it a real place? And why do you have these shirts on? So I was like, well, I'll tell you, So it was kind of cool. It starts the conversation. And I've been stopped saying like, oh my God, where's that place? It looks like so much fun. And I was like, oh, it is so much fun. It's all make believe, but it's really fun. But that was the whole, it kind of gets the mystery out there, and it kind of gets the energy behind it without actually doing, an article or an interview about the movie itself.
Right. And I think that's really brilliant on your end. And I can imagine it being really difficult going through the process of wanting to promote your movie, but then kind of not being able to promote your movie. And then, like you mentioned earlier, sometimes when you're actually going and filming, things change. Like something happens, or there's weather, or somebody gets sick and you have to cover for something. And so that's kind of where you come in too, because you have to help pivot the storyline. So that probably was a little bit hard for you too, right? Because you couldn't do that. You weren't involved in that regard.
No, I talked to Trevor as a friend, but that honestly and that was only because of me saying like, are you okay? How's it going? Like, I was in complete darkness. So, I mean, I didn't see the movie until it aired. That was when it aired on last Saturday night. It was the first time I saw it. So, I mean, I saw no dailies. I didn't see any screenings ahead of time. I saw nothing. So it was really difficult. I did one movie where I was on it. I wrote it, also was on it as an actress. And I'd be in there like memorizing lines and get a knock on my trailer door and them saying, we got to change this scene. Can you rewrite it? And I'm like, yeah. Like, do I have a choice? But so it's to not, like, again, if I had been there or if there wasn't a strike, they could have called and said like, you know, hey, this is what's going on. What can we say to make this work? If we want to have a lot of decorations and put people in the fall mood. And it would have been an easy fix, but oh well, that was, you know, that's part of the strike. So.
Right. Well, maybe going forward for the sequels or any other movies you write, you know, you'll be able to help with all of those situations and people will just fall in love with it. So it's going to be great. So I want to ask you a couple questions just in general about your process. So what do you love about rom-coms? Because you've done a few of these now. So what is it about rom-coms that you love?
Okay, I am one of the, like, I don't have, my relationship is with my dog. So I wait, and I joke about this, but like I'm waiting for that fairy tale. I think like a lot of us are, and I think even if you're married, you want to keep feeling that fairy tale that you had when you first met that person. You want to relive that on a daily basis, otherwise you wouldn't still be married, right? So I want the fairy tale. So when I write from like a girl that just wants to love, like, and have that love, and I go from that. And also I don't care what network you're watching. If it's a Lifetime, if it's Hallmark, if it's, you know, Great American Family, if it's CBS or ABC, like if it's an episodic, you know the characters. You've watched them go through their thing. You've watched them go through their 22 episodes if we're lucky. And if it's any one of the other cable networks I just named, you know what you're getting, right? Like you turn on that station and you know pretty much in the first 3 minutes who's going to end up with who, and what the end result's going to be. I just hope my job anyway is to try to get from, you know, point B or C to X and Y to like the in between, to make that a little bit different and at least give hopefully a little bit different dialogue where it keeps your interest while you know what's going to happen. It's still a fun ride. And that's what I think we all want. We don't want to have to overthink it. We don't want to have to like analyze it or put too much time and effort or like make our brains work that hard. We just want to like feel love, you know, whether it's a friendship, whether it's more than a friendship, whether it's romantic, whether it's family. We all want to have that good vibe, that good feeling. And also that feeling that says, hey, it's going to be okay. No matter what. You've got the family, you've got the friends, you've got the romance. It's going to be okay. Or the dog. God bless me.
Yeah. Yes, you've got the dog.
Can't forget about the dog. We all want to feel okay, you know, at the end before we go to sleep, especially with what's going on in our world. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff that isn't great that's happening. And if there's 1-2 hour break that we could take to kind of take us away from that, why not?
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree with you 100%. And I think that you touched on some really great things there too, saying that there are varying types of love. And I think that's what we're really seeing on Great American Family now, especially since they've expanded to Great American Pure Flicks and they're incorporating some of the movies from there too. You're getting to see these different kinds of love stories between a father and a daughter, or an unlikely angel, or, you know, like all these different ideas. And so I think right now what's so good with that network, with Great American Family, is that they're really pushing for their fans to give their feedback. Like they're saying, please review everything. And I know a lot of fans out there like to go in and they comment on social media posts and all that, and that's great. But that doesn't really help them gauge so much what people are wanting to see, what they're wanting different. They want to change up the formula and make everything feel new and fresh. And so I think that's really important to just remind the fans that they need to hear from you. So go to the website and actually review it. You can give it like a number ranking, you can write some specific comments, and then that's how they're going to gauge going forward what you want to see. So definitely do that.
I'm so glad you added that. I mean, you can, while the movies are going on, they have a little scan. But also, if you just go to greatamericanfamily.com and go to movie reviews, like you could talk about it. And even if it's not a specific movie, you could talk about just generally what you want to see. And I think the feedback, at least that from what I can gather, that they're hearing is the faith-based has really become a very strong element, I think, to their movies. The comedy, yes, but I think also we might start seeing more touching moments and more emotional storylines that have faith-based in them. And it's funny, I mean, listen, I have other movies that are not appropriate, that would never be appropriate for Great American Family or for any cable network, that borderline can make it to Lifetime. And I actually have done 2 for Lifetime that are like, really not appropriate and bad girl movies, which I love. Like, I always feel like we all have a lot of different facets of our personality. And there was one in particular I have, and it's a big emotional, like romantic drama. But there was a lot of language. And I said, listen, there's a lot of words in there that would not be able to be used. So I have to go through and kind of remove them. And I was talking about it. I said, during the strike, unlike I'm sure a lot of other people, I did not write. And it wasn't like, oh, because these were under contract, I didn't write those, which was the case. But also the stuff I could write, I just couldn't write it, the stuff that I was able to. But what I did do was start thinking about like projects that have not moved further ahead like I wanted, and think about why. And then I would just start like getting these weird, like, and I always call them God, gut punches or God kicks or something that says like, hey, think about it like this. And I would wake up from like a dream or in the middle of the night going like, oh, but it needs faith. Like, and I found myself like kind of searching for that a little bit more than normal, and taking a few of my project and kind of like putting them up a notch, going like, wow, wouldn't it be wonderful and kind of ironic that this never, like, it kept falling out of development, one project in particular, and thinking, well, what if it was just about, it wasn't in the right arena all this time, and that little tweak might be the thing that makes the difference, and obviously touches a whole different kind of level of emotion and people that need a whole lot more faith and that can see it differently. So we'll see. I'm hoping that project gets a little, like, there's a few that I'm excited about that I kind of wrote and kind of forgot about them, like, whatever, who cares? And now I'm like, wait a minute, that's an interesting time. Like, maybe this is the right time for them. So yeah, we'll see.
I would definitely circle back on those, because Great American Family fans really do love faith, family, everything that's wholesome for the entire family, all ages to watch. And they especially, so many comments, not even just on the fan pages, but on the general Great American Family pages and PureFlix even, were commenting saying, like, we love that there's more faith-based conversations that are instilled in here, some biblical lines, some biblical teachings. So they really loved that you also included that component in A Harvest Homecoming.
We're at a place now where we either sell and retire or go big.
What if it doesn't work out? You know?
It's not for us to worry about. That's God's jurisdiction.
Hold your mind just a minute.
So good job to you, because they loved that.
You know, it's funny, when I was brought, and it was a very short time. This kind of came out of left field, of course, as life usually kind of hit, like, wait, what just happened? And it was, part of it was like, hey, let's add some faith into it. And I said, as long as I can put it in where and I hate this word, I hate it, but organic. And I said, as long as I can do it where I feel it, then I'll put it in, then it works. And I hope that's what happened, because it ended up being, it wasn't like on page 37, 2/3 of the way down, you have to add the word God. And I was like, as long as I can put it in where I feel it, where these characters would feel it, then that's going to work. The minute we start doing it, we as a whole of an entertainment industry start pushing certain things at certain, pages, and this count, you have to say this. I'm sorry, there's an audience that's too smart for that. And they're gonna be like, it does not ring true. This is just to make you those little hints of like faith in there, which I hope it was not overdone, but it was done just enough and organic. I hate that word, but yeah.
I think organic is a beautiful word. You did it organically and it was perfect. Everybody really loved that part of it. And I think that we're really excited to see what else you're gonna do. And so it makes me wonder, like, the process. I wanna kind of peel back the curtain a little bit for fans because they're just seeing the finished product and they're like, okay, I like this, I don't like this, or whatever. But there's a lot that goes into it, especially on your end, as you're setting the tone for it before it even starts filming and comes to life. So what is the process like for you? Like, did you just all of a sudden say, hey, I have this idea, you wrote it, and then you started pitching it in front of people? Did Great American Family come to you and say, hey, we want to do this movie, let's work on it together? Did you sit in a room with a bunch of people and you kicked around ideas and then something stuck and then you developed it? Like, what was the process for you for this one?
I love all of those, and it was none of those. I have never sat in a room with people, and that's one thing I could say. I haven't, to this day, haven't done that where unless I'm writing music, then absolutely, it's all about co-writing. When I write movies, I go into this like cave, and it's very solo. It's very, it's a cave. There's no other word for it. Showering is optional. Food is optional. Water, coffee, definites. And I go into that place and I literally hear the voices in my head. This one, Harvest Homecoming, is something that has never happened before. I don't know if it will ever happen again. I hope it does. It was, I am a friend of mine, Trevor Donovan, who starred in it, who was amazing in this role of True. We had been talking about doing a project for probably close to a year, and really working on it like the last 7 months or so. And we had I had two ideas he had loved. We had narrowed it down. Those were the two that were going to be made, we thought. And then God laughs because we had a plan, you know. One was for summer that would have aired this past summer, and one was going to be for Christmas that would have aired in Christmas. And the night before, we were like talking, we're like, this is great, it's going to happen, this is wonderful, we're making all these big plans, and I would have to write really fast, it's going to be fine. And the next day, I had a big Zoom call with Great American Family and the execs, and they were like, yeah, it's not going to work, neither one. We've got 2 other dancing things, and I'm like, and I'm on Zoom going, trying to act like I'm all cool. I have never met anybody, and I'm on Zoom, and I'm like, ah. And summer, we didn't have enough time, and I'm literally like having a heart attack inside, going like, what do I say? There's all these people looking at me, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. And I have 2 other projects with another network, and they said, what about fall? And do you have anything for that? And I said, no, I'm sorry. I know I don't. I have one that's with another network. I don't have anything today. Like, no. And so I literally was like, I could panic. I mean, I'm looking at myself and I'm going like, we're done. Like, that's it. They're never going to talk to you again. And so I think I was so awkward for like maybe 15 minutes. And I finally said, I'm going to go. And it was so nice meeting everybody, but I'm going to go think about. And I remember at one point, they were so funny. They were so great. And they were so kind and so like patient with me having like a meltdown without trying to have a meltdown on camera. Yeah. And I said, do you have any ideas, anything? And I think, I forget which one, it might've been Bill. And somebody said, well, Trevor does a lot with, anti-bullying, and he has the, team up standards. And I was like, uh-huh. And he's like, and someone said, maybe you could be a teacher. And I was like, but what else? Like, they're like, could he, I was like, that's not a story. And I finally excused myself and went off camera at the time. And we're talking February of this year, 7 months ago. I was in Lake Placid, which is about 45 minutes from where I'm at now. And it's a mountain town. There's about a foot of snow on the lake. It's frozen. I was in the process of doing a final first draft for a winter project for another network. And I was like, I can't think of fall. I got nothing. And I'm on the middle of the lake going, come on, God, like, what do you got for me? And for 3-4 days went by. Nothing. I'd sit there and just stare like this at the computer, drinking coffee, saying bad words, I'm quite sure, and just getting frustrated with myself. And then I think I took a break and I was watching something, and I'm walking around this house that I was renting, and I was like, I mean, I don't know. A harvest, I don't know what. A harvest, it's a homecoming. It's a teacher who comes home, harvest home. Wait, what? And then I was like, oh my God. So I started writing. I wrote that day. It was a Tuesday. I'll never forget the timeline. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I wrote 3 pages that whole day. I did not spell check it. I did nothing. I sent it off to them, everybody at the network. I said, listen, it's 3 pages. It could be terrible. I don't know. I haven't spell checked it. And a Wednesday, and that was like at 9:30 at night. And the next night was probably like 10:30 at night. And I was going to bed or getting in bed. And I checked my emails, and the email was like, we're putting this into development. You have a production meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. And I went, what? Yeah. It usually takes months, if not years, to get stuff in development, depending on how many executives you're dealing with and what network you're talking to. I mean, it literally is usually months before something gets put into production, at least 3 to 6. But, just of talking and writing treatments. And I thought, this is a joke. Like, this is a joke. And then the next day I had a production meeting and I started writing that Friday. And I wrote, this was the quickest I ever wrote. This was a 3-week turnaround.
So wait, it was a 3-week timeline, and then you immediately went into production, and then there was a strike. So it was extremely challenging for you. What a timeline.
We knew the strike was coming, and in April I was rewriting, and then it was like production had notes, and it was creative notes, production, and I was rewriting probably, I would say every 3 days I was doing another quick, fix this scene, fix that scene, because we knew it was coming, and the minute it was going to arrive, I was out. So it was, ironically, I knew the theme, one of the songs in the movie was going to be called Road to You, and I wrote that in the script. Drew sings his song Road to You, and I put in parentheses, will be written, something I think I wrote. And it was a big finale song. And I kind of forgot about it, honestly, because I thought, well, who knows if they're going to make it? We've got the strikes, and there's an actor strike coming. If we do make this movie, it's going to shoot in the next 3 days. We have to start. It has to stop by this date. We're running out of time. So I kind of forgot about it until I got an email, and they're like, we're not writing you about the movie, but about your song, this is about music. Where's your song? Road to You. And I went, yeah, no, I need it. I could send it. Totally can send it. On Monday. And they're like, no, we need it tonight. I'm like, no, I need a couple days. I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this song.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's fine. I can get it to you by Monday. And they're like, tonight and 2 hours from now. And you're like, no, we're going to have to wait till Monday.
We're going to really need till Monday, because I need to have it, I need my friend to lay down the tracks and to write the music and to help finish the music. And they're like, okay, Monday, I'm like, right, what time? And they're like by 5 at the latest. And I'm like, East Coast or West Coast? And I'm at this part, they're like, what is going on? Because at this point I was still in New York, and I'm like, please God, let them say West Coast, because I just really thought it wasn't going to happen. And if it did happen, they wouldn't remember my song. They'll probably just get another one. So that was kind of funny while it was going on. There was, it was, and even then when it was done and you hear that it came out great, everyone had really kind things to say, but then you still don't know if it's really going to air. Yeah. I don't ever get really excited until it's literally within 7 days of the air date, and you're like, it's actually happening. I see it in print. I see the commercials. It's on. Up until then, you never know about title changes, date changes, premiere dates. You just don't know. So I let it all get really excited when I see the previews. I'm like, okay, they've got it on the website. Chances are it's going to happen.
No, that's good. I love that you kind of set your expectation a little bit along the way, but you mentioned title change, and I was going to ask you, was the title something different to begin with, or was it always A Harvest Homecoming? Because then you also on your shirts have the apples, orchards, and romance. If I said that right.
You did. It's a clunker. So it was always A Harvest Homecoming. I was doing an interview, I guess when they were announcing it in the trades, they asked me for a couple of quotes, and the lady wrote and said, hey, I want to ask you a couple of questions to put in this big release for Apples, Orchards, and Romance for your fall movie, Apples, Orchards, and Romance. And I went, I'm so sorry, but I think you have the wrong writer. That's not my movie. She's like, sure, it is. It stars Trevor Donovan and Jessica Lange. I was like, oh, yeah, my movie's called A Harvest Home, but because of the strike, no one could call me or tell me. And Trevor, they didn't even know, right? At this point, I think the actors, were they already, the actors might have, I don't think we're on strike yet as the actors, but either way, we had no idea. And so I'm texting him, did you know they changed the name? He's like, what? So we were like, what's going on? And so then it was Apples, Orchard. So before I got the sweatshirts and t-shirts made, then I went to Apples, Orchard, and Romance. I printed out all these things. We sold a bunch. And then all of a sudden, it's coming out again, right? I'm still on strike. And the next thing I hear, they were saying like, okay, now it's called a Harvest Homecoming. And by the way, the date has now changed to September 30th. It was going to be, I think, October 7th. That was our original date. I think they switched Danica's movie and our movie.
Okay.
And so all of a sudden we're like, what? Now it's back to Harvest Homecoming. I don't think I've had, I'm trying to think. This was like the first, no, my Hallmark Christmas movie had a title change too. That was originally called A Bright and Merry Christmas. And they changed that one to Good Morning Christmas. And I found that out on Facebook. I think that, God bless these executives. I don't know how they do it, but they've got, especially at Christmas time and, AF that has like brand new network. They're trying to get all this stuff organized and get ready for Christmas and have these fall movies debut. And I think that, it's just a lot going on. And plus the strikes this time anyway. It's had a few names, a few premiere dates, but it all.
Even unintentional name changes when it was originally Harvest Homecoming and they came back to it. So there's that.
There's that. But I'm so glad because it really, Apples, Orchards, and Romance, although it was about all of that, it was a clunker. It was like a tongue twister there. Yeah.
Well, I love the alliteration of A Harvest Homecoming. It flows. It sounds good. Everyone else loves that too. So what was it like for you to watch it? Are you able to, because I've interviewed so many celebrities and other writers too, where they can't watch their own things or they watch, but it's almost too critical for them, like their lens. They can't take that off to just sit and watch it. So what is it like for you? Do you get to just enjoy it when you're watching the movie?
So that's interesting. Before I've been able to watch it, I've seen like dailies or I've seen like a director's cut or something and I've had a say in it. This was blind. So my mom actually has a picture of me like this, like while it's going on. And I look over and I'm like, don't take that picture. Like, so for me, it was, I try not to be critical. It's really hard. I don't speak for a while throughout the whole movie. And then afterwards I'm like, okay. And then in the next night I give myself a break and then I say, okay, for all that was going on, I'm really excited, very proud of it for the first movie with them. And then the next night I go back and I'm like, yeah, okay, I would have done this, I would have done that, but I would have written it this way. But at this point I try to really relax because what's the point of getting critical or having an issue? It's done. It's out there. It's gone. Move on to the next one. Like
exactly.
Whatever you like, don't write that again or make it different so that somebody takes it in differently and then says it differently. But I'm really proud of it. I'm proud of, I loved everybody in it. Like I wouldn't have picked anybody different to star in it. Like it just came out. I just think it was the perfect kind of storm, really.
Well, and everyone loves seeing Trevor and Jessica together. So everybody loves that duo. I know some people have said, wow, it was amazing to finally see Trevor sing. So they really loved that. And then I heard people saying, okay, now next time we need a duet because Jessica has a beautiful voice too. So putting them two together would be. I'm going to plug,
she has a new project right now. So if anybody is a huge fan of hers, go and look on her website. She's got a new project coming out if anybody doesn't know that, she's promoting it now and it's amazing. And her voice is absurdly great. If I had known it was going to be her, would have written it differently. But as it turned out, because it was such fast, everything was so elevated and so crazy because of the upcoming actor strike. And because they shoot in Canada, it had to be a Canadian actress. So, and at that point, all the networks were stealing all the actresses up at that really very fast pace. So it was a little bit sketchy as to see who was going to be starring opposite Trevor. So we did not know until days before. But hopefully next time she'll be able to, they could get a good duet going.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Well, I love you that you've been so involved on social media. Like over the last couple of days, I've been looking at people's comments because I asked a lot of the fans, please let me know what questions you want me to ask Riley. And we've gotten through some, but now I'm going to go by name. There are a few that I'm going to
I loved it.
But I really love how you've been so responsive to everything because a lot of times the writers and maybe even sometimes the actors like kind of watch from afar. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you've been so hands-on that I think it makes you feel more connected, more accessible. So people are actually getting to respond directly to you. So I think it's good. So now we've got some fan questions. Are you ready?
it. I love it. And to answer, just kind of go back to what you said. Here's the thing. I love what I do. I still wake up every day and I pinch myself that I get to do what I love on a daily basis. And I want to hear what people have to say. I don't want to, like, if someone has something negative to say, go ahead, say it. Listen, I've already been down too many negative things in my life before. If I can't handle it, then I wouldn't be here. So I want to hear the good. I want to hear the bad. And I also want people to know that it's a person that does something. This is my job. And I have a couple of them. And because I'm not just a writer, I try to also let people know that I'm also a country artist. I've opened up for some great people. I get to play great shows. I write music. One song happened to be in the movie. Like, I'm an actress. That's what started me writing. So, and I don't think people know that until they get to know me, and they're not going to get to know me unless I put myself out there and say, hey, I wrote it. I hope you liked it. And I don't know. People might think that that's self-serving, and we're in a business where if you're not self-serving, you're not going to get known. If you're not going to get known, people they're not going to care if you're in a movie or working on a project or not. You want to share that excitement. At least I do. For me personally, I want to share that excitement. So I thank you for saying that. Glad you have some fans that wrote some questions. Okay, let's.
Yes, of course. Well, I'm a former NFL cheerleader, so cheerleaders always need cheerleaders, in my opinion. So I'm cheering for you, so I understand. Okay, let's get to some fan questions.
That is like kind of really cool that you were an NFL cheerleader.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I loved every second of it. I did it for 5 seasons. I did it for the Arizona Cardinals. And I loved it. Was captain, did show team, performed for troops overseas, and then got to go to the Pro Bowl. One cheerleader at a time can be picked to go to the Pro Bowl, and once you go once, you don't go again, unless you're with a different team. Unlike the players, where the players can go 5-10 years in a row. So being selected was a huge deal, and I was the last year it was in Hawaii, so it was really magical.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
So it was really special. But thank you. Thank you for being my cheerleader. I appreciate it.
It's like, I mean, girl, like, I want to feel like I need to snap my face. Like, that is like very cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, anyway, back to the fans. Okay, so we have Eileen. She asked if there was going to be a second installment of A Harvest Homecoming, or maybe a third, which we've already kind of touched on.
Yes, let's just keep saying thank you in advance. If we all put out the good juju vibes for the sequel, just maybe, and if we write in and say we want a sequel.
Yes.
I mean, I haven't said that, but I think I'm a little biased, so they probably didn't look at my comments.
Let's just say, fans, if you want to see a sequel, go on to the Great American Family website and let them know. Okay, so Beth writes that she absolutely loved the movie, and what else have you written?
Oh, okay. I love that. Okay. So if you are fans of Hallmark, I have written for Hallmark one called The Nanny Express with Vanessa Marcel and Brendan Elliott, who are amazing. That is now airing, if I'm not mistaken, on either Pixel or Up TV. I've written Always and Forever for Hallmark, which again now is on Pixel and or Up TV. I have one called Good Morning Christmas that's on Hallmark. With Allison Sweeney and Mark Lucas. That was, one of my favorite ones ever, just because I absolutely am obsessed with Christmas and snow and all the fields of Christmas. And Christmas starts in my house like October 27th. I'm not joking. That one is going to be airing, I think, on October 24th on Hallmark, and then a couple more dates in November. That one will be airing. And let's see. On Lifetime, there's Damaged, Dark Beauty, and those are my naughty girl movies. I don't know if they're still airing on Lifetime. They might be on Lifetime Movies, the Lifetime Movie Network channel. I have one called Christmas at Water's Edge that used to air on Lifetime, and I'm in that one, and I also wrote it. And been in a couple other ones, but those as far as like the movies go that I've written. And then there's 2 new ones at Hallmark, which are hopefully coming out in 2024 and 2025 respectively.
Ooh, exciting. I love that. And of course, we also have your novel too, but there's a question about it, so we'll get there. Okay, so the next one is from Phil, and he asked, are the characters in the script based on someone you know, and if so, who?
Oh my God, I love that, Phil. This one, no. And it's not, obviously, because I'm friends with Trevor, like I wrote there were some jokes in there that only like because we have said different things like in conversation that I made him say, which was amazing. That I've made jokes about, like I put in stuff that he would say, like copy that, like, you know, little tiny little hints that kind of were in his honor, you know. But as far as everybody else, I'm trying to think. I mean, really, there was nobody else. That said, there have been other movies where I have based them on somebody, and my mom will love this. It was Always and Forever, and the mom was played by Barbara Eden from I Dream of Jeannie, and the mother keeps trying to hook up her daughter with somebody, and she says something about the Facebook, and she can't get onto the Facebook, and my mom still refers to it as the Facebook.
Yeah.
Can't you get me on the Instagram? Absolutely not. I cannot, and I will not get you on the, you know, the next thing is I want to be on the X. Nope, not happening. It's called Twitter still. Also, we're not Xing. We're not going to X. We're not doing anything about that. So, but that's like, I put like things that my mom has said. I gave that character, and I didn't tell her until we watched it. She's like, I don't say that. I don't act like that. I'm like, you can.
You're like, debatable. I wrote it for a reason, so.
I do put my friends' names in the movie. I put like either first names or last names, like Lainey Ross, my best friend, her last name is Ross. So there was a good friend of mine named Jen, who was the best friend. So I try to like, you know, I throw in names of people that I know and people that I'm friends with, you know, last names here and there. So you never know when your name's going to be popping up, Phil. Just
yeah. Hey, Phil, you might get a shout out. That's pretty cool.
I get a shout out.
So Diane asked something that we already touched on, but she was asking if you had more projects in the works, but she said praying, the answer is yes. And so you've touched on some that you have coming up, so that's good. So yes. More people are rooting for you.
There's a winter one for Hallmark, and there's a fall one for Hallmark. And so winter, well, hopefully we'll see what happens, but that wouldn't come out until probably 2025 or after. And then because it's very, you know, we only have 1 month and we have to have snow in this one. And then hopefully a fall one for 2024.
Okay, we'll see. And then hopefully something else for Great American Family, maybe a sequel, maybe a different movie. We'll just see what happens.
A hoping for a sequel or you know, another like, or 2 or 3 of them. And then hopefully some other projects that I'll be very happy to share with you as soon as we have an idea of what they might be. But there's some good stuff moving around and being talked about.
Okay, I like the little cliffhanger in the teaser. We'll take it for now. And I'm hoping that I'm saying this right. Keek, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but that person asked the question, how long did it take for you to write the movie, which you kind of touched on, and are there any more in the near future? Love your work. Sequels would be great, like Drew and Lainey's courtship, and then marriage, and then fleshing out the son's character, a bit more Aiden, and also for caring about family and inserting the Lord into your writing too. So that was a nice shout out.
Heart, I love that. This one, like I said, this one was a very short 3 weeks that honestly are kind of a blur. For the most part though, it takes usually 4 to 5. And then I try to get it done and then I walk away. And I try to do something else. I walk away from it completely. Then I come back and I reread it, which usually entails me rewriting or tweaking here and there, and then I'll send it in for notes. And I mean, it depends on what the project is and really how much time I have. Like the one I'm working on now, I feel like I've been working on for months, but I also had to take a big, I couldn't write about it for those 5 months of the writer's strike. So I feel like, you know, am I still writing it? Is it still happening? But it usually is 4 to 5 weeks, sometimes 6.
But this one was a 3. This one was a quick turn. It was like, you get me something by the next day. Yeah.
It was, and when I remember writing in saying like, how fast do we need it? And I remember one of the execs wrote back and said yesterday. And I was like, wait, what? Like, seriously? Yeah. Yes.
You're like, perfect. I'll take it. Okay, so we also have Teresa, and this was the one asking about your book. So she said that she knows that you've written one, and then tell us a little bit more about it. You also commented on one person's comment about your novel, also adding like a little bit of a disclaimer. So tell us what's going on with your novel.
And I will tell you, the only reason I wrote this book, which I don't think I have any purpose writing, was a very selfish Sorry, my power just went out and then came back on. A very selfish reason, because I had written the script first. I wanted to star in it. And I got some feedback that was like, well, you're not a star, so you can't be in it. And my whole point was you shouldn't really know who this girl is to go through the journey that she has to go through. And so I thought, well, how do people get more control, right? Well, they'll write a book and have the book. The book ended up doing fairly well, and it won a few awards, which was very nice. And so I did a little, thank you. And that kind of helped get it set up a few different times. I wrote the theme song. I sang the theme song. It's been recorded. It was actually released in Portugal. So I have a book in Portuguese that I can't read, but it's really cute. And that's kind of, the book it's kind of a cross between Steel Magnolias meets Terms of Endearment meets The Fault in Our Stars. It kind of has mother-daughter relationship that we all have with a mother, and and this is like, they just don't know how to be mother and a daughter. They know how to be a coach and a skater, and the girl is an amazing skater. She's been skating her whole life. Her mom has been her coach and is also a full-time nurse, and the dad is doing everything he can to keep them above water. And the girl meets, when she's like 6 years old, she meets a 10-year-old boy at the end of a parade when there's nothing left, and there's like this little yellow balloon that's kind of got no air left in it, and the clown's even gone. And they kind of grab that string at the same time and have a face-off. And she just basically says, like, look, I miss the parade every year. I'm always skating. I'm going to the Olympics. You might know who I am. And he's like, you're 6. Like, what are you talking about? And he's from a very wealthy family, and she's not. And he kind of laughs at her, and she's like, hey, I'll be your best friend if you give me the balloon. And there's something about these two at 6 and 10 that most adults will never know in their entire lifetime. And these children have it. They don't know it, or they can't. So I got chills right now. Yes, it's 49 degrees outside, so probably why. But also because it's like, this story means so much to me. And then she looks at him and she says, I'll be your best friend if you give me the balloon. And he says, that's okay, you can have it anyway. And he walks away, and she's like, hey, like, and then you cut to them 5 years from now, and she's like 11, and he's now, 15, and he's that kid. He's that guy in school that everybody wants to be near, and he just wants to be near Madison, and she's completely oblivious. And then you cut to them again, and now she's in her 20s, and he's a little bit older, and he has stayed there. He's gone to state. He's now taken a job instead of going to to law school, because he just can't leave Madison, who's completely oblivious and still as snarky as she was when she was 6. And she's on her way to the Olympics, and something happens. And the book, they were younger in the book. When I wrote the script and I tweaked it, I changed the ages so that it wouldn't be inappropriate. It's funny, not knowing that I might become faith-based down the road. I've been tweaking it all along to kind of change with me growing and changing as a writer and as an actor and as just somebody who loves rom-coms more than the normal person, and or romantic dramas, which this definitely is more of a drama. There is a lot of language in the book, which is my disclaimer, because that was the mother and the daughter. But taking that out and kind of giving it a faith-based, which might be what's happening now, I probably wouldn't have agreed to a year or two ago. And now it just feels right. I feel like with all the stuff that's going on in this world, I feel like I want more faith. I want a little bit more hope. And I think that a lot of us do. So I'm excited to see where this project goes, if that happens. But I was not a skater. I started ice skating just for this movie, so that I could get us in and out of everything. And I love it. Haven't skated for a year and a half, but I was skating like just about every day for a while.
Yeah, ice skating is really fun. I did it when I was younger, and then it's been a hot minute ever since I've been back on the ice.
Yeah.
I've done a couple like TV segments, where you have like the professional ice skaters like going around you, and you're just kind of like zigzag, and you're like, yep, I'm gonna stay right over here. But that's all right. That's good.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. I love that you're also too like sharing your faith journey with everybody as well, because there are a lot of people at different parts of that journey, and I agree with you that I tell everybody that I follow what I call my GPS, God's plan for success, and it just changes your life. Yeah, it just changes your life. So I love that you're like on this journey and then sharing that too, like sharing how that's changing in the dynamic of everything that you're doing too. So we're excited for you.
That because I think it's people. I don't think a little while ago everyone was really like open about it and talking about it. Like I was brought up in a church every Sunday. We went to Sunday school. That was what we did. But I was also petrified of sitting and listening to a sermon, you know. And I kind of now having a different sense of what my faith is and what my God is. I'm not scared to hear anybody preach. I don't have that preacher that's preaching like at you, like this is what's going to happen and you're a bad person if you do X, Y, or Z. And I mean, people can laugh at me. I'm a big lover of Joel Osteen. I feel like Joel's the one that kind of started bringing it back home, like it made sense to me, like in a normal conversational way, so that I was able then to look into it more. And I recently, when I've been looking at projects like, okay, this hasn't gone anywhere and it's been in development how many times and fallen out how many times, why? Like, what is it that is about, you know, these couple different ones? And again, in this meeting earlier, I was talking about a project loosely based on me losing my sister to breast cancer and the aftermath of that. And not about the breast cancer or the cancer herself, but just about losing somebody and having to find your way. You know, I had just moved to Nashville. I was focusing on music. That was the last thing I was thinking was going to happen, that I would be running back and forth helping her with my nieces and then helping my brother-in-law after that with my nieces. And I wrote a project about it. And I was listening to somebody speaking about hope and stuff. And I was like, that's what this project is, you know? And I went back to another project this afternoon that I hadn't thought of, that was a possible series thing. And, you know, and it came up and I was like, oh, what's this thing I wrote? And it had all this faith in there. And I focused on this one thing where it said, you know, my character was asking her father which way to go, like what to do when she looked up at the stars. And I thought, wait, what is this even about? And when did I write this? And I just find it's funny that when the timing is right, if you're open to it, I feel like there's no mistaking God will show up, but you got to listen. And I know for me personally, I don't like listening. I'm go, 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 more and more and more. And it's hard for me just to kind of stop it and listen and not panic when I don't hear an answer. And yet when I'm least expecting it, I'm kind of like, you know, just kind of thinking of something else, that it kind of, you get that little God gut, you know, whether it's a twinge or whether it's an actual, like, I am going to kick you right now with my boot, kind of a gut punch that you feel that is something you can't ignore. And it could be as simple as a flick and you know it's right. That's when you know you're in tune with it. Does that make sense?
Yes, 100%. I agree with you. And I totally understand that as well, because when I was younger, I had, well, first of all, let me say, your high kick was excellent, just said. I was like, her leg just went all the way up to her head. Look at her.
I almost went to post, but I thought I might not make my leg come back down again. So I might have got there.
Just stay seated so that way you don't have to.
Yes.
That's so funny. No, yeah, I was going to say everything that you just said totally makes sense, because when I was younger, I was a freshman in high school, I broke my neck. It was a tumbling situation, and thankfully I wasn't paralyzed from it. That was totally like God and guardian angels protecting me from that. And then my senior year, so a couple years later, like totally unrelated, I had a blood clot in my lung and almost died from it. And it was on the third night that I saw like a silhouette of Jesus at the end of my bed. And literally the next day was starting to make a full recovery. I was starting to eat. I was able to breathe on my own. I could get up, I could walk like laps. I had to like hold all of the equipment and everything, but I was able to like do the laps. And so that's when I told people, like, because I used to be part of Fellowship of Christian Athletes and all that, like in high school too, but that's when I really told people, like, okay, I'm here for a reason, and I'm like devoted to my GPS, my God's plan for success, whatever that is. I'm gonna follow it, I'm gonna be obedient, and I'm just gonna like go for it hard. And 3 months later, so it was so like interesting with the symbolism of the three. So then 3 months later, I auditioned and made the team for the Cardinals. So I was one of the youngest in the NFL that year, definitely a liability because of all the medical stuff I had going on. But it was all of these like amazing and magical things just kept happening, and it was all part of his plan. So I totally hear you when you're like, you get these feelings, you get these signs, I totally understand that. Totally.
We have a lot in common. It's funny. I had a stomach pain. And long story short, I was overdosed with morphine in a hospital. Went into a coma, 3 days. Like last rites. If I came out of it, wasn't gonna walk or talk ever again.
Yeah.
And 3 days later, woke up with respirator, couldn't, and freaked out. And then they'd put kind of nailed me down, so to speak, so that I couldn't move because I was ripping it out in my sleep even. And I wrote something on the back of a Kleenex box that said, "My blank hurts," because I've been not moved for a few days. But it was like a long, it was like learning how to do everything all over again.
Right.
And even then, it didn't really occur to me that was for a reason. Like it really, again, I just think we all have our own journey with it. But I love when we get to that place of like, there's got to be a reason I'm still here. There's too many things that have happened that I should not be here. There's no reason to be here. When my family has a history of breast cancer in it. I had a few scares before my sister, to be completely honest. And so not that a family says, "Oh, it's going to be you," but hey, we'd already been prepared for that. So I think that was also something else for me to go, wait, God, you made a mistake. I'm the one that's not married. I'm the one that doesn't have children. I didn't have a dog at that point. So that, again, deepens your faith. You have to go through the valleys,
Right.
even when they're not dark as they might get.
Right.
If you're still there, even in the valley, there's a reason. And I don't like it. No, none of us do. I can't imagine. Everyone's like, I love the darkness. I love being depressed. It's never fun, but there's a reason for it. They're absolute. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know the whys. Maybe someday I'll get there and I can ask and say, "Hey, what was the story?" I got a question about, in 2001. What up, man? What happened?
Yeah.
But until that time, it's like a matter of saying, like, I don't get it. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to keep going because there's got to be something. So.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I always tell people, like, the view is always better from the top. Like, the climb is going to be hard, but the view is always better from the top. So
the same thing goes, Chelsey, that you might not stay up there very long. Something else might happen that you have to go through to bring up to the next top, which might be a little bit harder than the last one, right? And that's the frustrating points, the in-between phase, that the top might not last forever, but it's the joy of getting there and even the joy of getting back up there. Right? And
exactly.
Even the stuff that comes in when you have to go down, and that whether it's loss or depression or an addiction or it's your health or whatever it is, if you're still there and you wake up and you're not on the other side of the ground, then there's a reason.
Right.
You might not know it, but there is.
Right.
And if you can trust, there is a reason that higher power that I call God knows, then if you can just one foot in front of the other, whatever it is.
It's like those character building stages of your life. It's the faith building stages of your life when you're going through all of that.
Absolutely is. I'm very excited about a few of these projects that I never would have thought about, that have such a deep, much more on the faith base than what we saw in Harvest Homecoming. That was kind of just like peppered in there here and there. These were stories that I might not have been ready to tell a couple of years ago, that now the outlet is there, and hopefully they'll end up getting a bigger picture, because I think even if it's just for me, I know there's other people like me that might want a little, that we need to find that hope somewhere. Right. And I hopefully we'll see it.
I hope so too. It'll find its way. Wherever it's meant to go, it will be. And so we'll all find it once you get there. Yeah. I kind of derailed us. We'll get back to a couple of the comments. Sorry about that. Got to reel it in sometimes. Okay, so there were some other people who asked questions that we already answered, so I'm going to skip those. But want to give a couple people shout outs. So Rose gave you like a bunch of hearts. So Rose loved all the things. Kim said, I hope you write more stories that have Trevor in the movies, because she loves Trevor. Mark said, A Harvest Homecoming is now available on PureFlix. So that's just letting everybody know that it is available for streaming, because some people might have missed it when it aired the first time. It's okay. You can watch it on PureFlix. Woo! Great American PureFlix.
There's a 7-day free trial right now on PureFlix, if I'm not mistaken. So good time to try it.
Yes, and that's a good way to, a lot of people have been posting, like, I'm interested in these streaming platforms. I haven't done it before. Like you said, definitely try out the free trial of the streaming platform, so that way you can test it out and then decide what you want to do going forward. And worst case scenario, you get 7 days free, so go enjoy. We have Wendy, who says, you're a gifted writer. Laura said, I love this movie. That's all. Jennifer said, I just want her to know that she's a fantastic writer. The movie was absolutely adorable. Loved the grandpa and the dad. And then there were a bunch of other comments saying, we want more Trevor and Jessica, of course. And then in general, just a lot of people were saying they were really interested in the process and how you get things from your imagination down on paper. And I feel like we've kind of touched on some of that, but they were just so happy for you.
The other thing that gets me going with an idea, it could be something even that I go through, not that I'm inspired by somebody else, although I'm always listening in on conversations. It could be a commercial for, Kool-Aid. I don't know, something silly that I'm like, oh, wait, that was something about that, or a scene or a picture. This cabin that I come up to between May and October, when I was leaving a couple years ago, I was looking out at the lake and I was with my dad and my stepmom, and I was like, I'm coming back in the winter. My dad's like, you're nuts. You're not coming back. It's like 12 degrees. It's 2 degrees. Like there's a foot of snow. I'm like, yes, I know, I'm coming back. And that Christmas, and that right after Christmas I did that year, that was like 3 or 4 years ago. And I kept thinking, like, I wish I could do this with a guy. Like, I wish I had a boyfriend and I could go with him and do the dog sled rides and go on hikes in the mountains and do this stuff. And I had my dog, and he was looking at me like, what's wrong with me? Like, hey, I'm a good boyfriend. And then I was like, I could go on a dog sled ride by myself, and I could do this by myself, and I could do that by myself. And that literally is what inspired the winter Hallmark one that hopefully we'll be seeing in the next year or so. And it was only because something that I looked at the dog sled rides like happening on the lake, and I was like, I wish I could do that. Too bad I didn't have somebody. And I was like, wait a minute, that's dumb. Go do it. Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah. And that kind of stuff, it would inspire me. So it really could be anything at any given moment. There are also, because I'm a songwriter, I could have a song that I love so much that all of a sudden the movie comes from the song, not necessarily the song comes from the movie, kind of a thing. And one of them is a new one that I have coming up, but that is not written yet, that does have a little bit of magic to it and involves just slam dunk Christmas, but it has music in there. And the song was written first. And then one day I woke up and I'm like, I think it was even on a walk that day in Nashville. And I was like, this is bigger than just the song. And all of a sudden I had the whole idea was there. Yeah. So I never know when I'm going to get the idea to like write something different or change something up or get an idea from something that was already there that takes it to another level, like this one. Right. So that's always exciting. Twice this to happen now, twice with Christmas movies or Christmas songs that I've written and played out and been like, something more is coming from that, and then had the idea for the movie version. So hopefully those will find their home soon.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's how I feel with my children's books too. I just like randomly would get inspiration and I just write it down. I just like write down a quick note and I'm like, okay, I can come back to that later. But It's probably similar to you in that you said you have to be in a cave. Same. Like I have to be like in complete silence and just in a room, and I can crank out a children's book in about an hour, which is kind of crazy. I know there's AI software out there and stuff that can write it for you. No. We sit down and we just like dive into it. We write it all out, and it's from just anything that's around you that you can spark inspiration any second. So just if you can be open to it and creative to it, like I know some people out there might be thinking, how do I get into this industry? How do I start? And maybe that's some kind of advice that you could give to them too. And in addition to inspiration can strike anytime, do you have any other advice that you would offer those people?
Yes, right. No matter what. I don't care if it's in your diary. I don't care if you're writing a journal. I don't care if you write a poem. I don't care if you write on a Post-it and you're writing to your husband that you love him. Like, it really is. And this is what I have to remind myself, because I don't just write. It's hard. Like people are always like, oh, and I'm like, no, because it depends if I'm in the mood to write a song. I might be in the mood to sing. If I have a show next week, I am practicing every day and I'm reminding myself how to play the guitar, because it's not something that comes easily, and remind myself of the lyrics. What songs am I going to do? And my head's not in the game, where most of my friends, they're writers, they get up at a certain time, they're in their office by a certain time, they take their lunch at a certain time, they go back to writing till a certain time, then they have dinner, then they go to bed. I am not that writer. Yes. the kind of writer that might go skate one day and then go get groceries at Walmart and then be like, oh yeah, and then go home and start at 3 p.m. and write till 6 a.m. And there might be 30 pages. I'm that same writer that the next day would get up and be like, it's going to be a great day, and look at a page, one line for 17 hours and go, nope, not happening today. So as long as you're trying, like yesterday was a day that I know I have 4 acts to go in this one project, and I'm all over the place, and I don't, there was a treatment that was already approved that part of the deal, but it was all how I get figured out differently. So I have a stack of Post-its and Scotch tape, and my wall right now in my office, and they're all like this kind of wall, like all wood walls in the cabin, or it's like covered with like somebody who's had a psychotic meltdown, and there's scribbled Post-its, like, acts 6, 7, and 8 is 6, 7, 8, and 9 are like Post-its from years, like just random things that I have moved around, and I stepped back and I was like, okay, that's what has to happen.
Yeah.
Not pretty, but whatever you can do to look, read a book, read a magazine article. What interests you? Is it, I don't know, is it something scientific? Read a book on that. Like, watch a sci-fi movie. And kind of just, and also if you're a person of faith, ask God what you're supposed to write. Like, it might not be what you think it's supposed to be. Like I know I have a rom-com story. It's my life. I met my husband. It's from high school. Where's the story? So there's a lot more that goes into all the arcs, all the stories, where you started, where you end, who's involved, all the stuff that gets woven in there. So maybe it's just, short story you write.
That's what a lot of writers say too. They just say, write, and then write some more. So just keep writing.
And it might, none of that you might spend writing all these different stories might be a short story, a book of short stories that you might go, oh, the theme is all in there, that all this happened during the spring, or all this happened during the summer, or these were all about summer camp or something. Like, it eventually will show itself if you're supposed to be doing it.
So we covered a lot today. Are you like overwhelmed? We were like,
I love it.
I've been loving every single second of it. Do you feel like there was something you wanted to say that you didn't get to say? Or do you feel like we covered everything?
I just want to say thank you to you and everybody that watched the movie, and people that are going to watch new movies. And if anybody's listening and they want to hear a song, they can email me or send me a note on social media, and I'll send a song or two. And I mean, I love hearing what people think, and I love performing, whether that means writing something that it can touch somebody, or it's singing a song that might mean something to them, or whatever it is they're going through, or, whatever it is. Like, I just love doing what I'm doing. And so the fact that anybody's interested in that is gravy. And thank you for your time, and thank you for all y'all's time.
Yes, no, thank you. No, thank you for spending time with us and answering all these questions. I know the fans are gonna be interested to see what happens in the future, but at least they got to hear from you for now. And now they know it's been an open invitation. You've been an open book. You're saying, let's stay connected. So thank you so much, Riley. I really appreciate your time. And of course, I'm sending you lots of Arizona sunshine.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Please share the word so we can grow our community of great American family fans. Welcome home.